Hey, paisans, the time has come. On the air since 2009, the independently produced, non-FCC compliant champ of video game talk podcasting. Here comes Tiger Claw Radio. Here's your host, Critical Failure.
Welcome to Tiger Claw Radio, everybody. It's Wednesday morning. Oh yeah, time to start the day with a little TCR. Quite a week for video games. That's right, we had the Thanksgiving sale. Has now come and gone. Over on the Steams, and on the GOGs, and on the Gibbledy Goops. Going on location here in just a minute. It's a bit of a weird one. I had Audacity was just like, no, you know what? We're not gonna play. We're not gonna play that audio file that you've just dragged and dropped on top of us. I've been using Audacity for many, many years. Probably, I'm trying to think if I've been using it longer than I've been doing TCR, and I want to say yes, but I'd have to think back hard. I honestly don't really remember. Oh well, what are you going to do? This one is, fuck me. It's so hard to do when I'm tired. The jump from doing this in the evening to doing it in the morning has been very difficult. Who did this song? Song called Say Anything. The Bouncing Souls. Yes, the Bouncing Souls. What a good band to wake up to. You're listening to TCR.
I wanna make you know I can do everything, but I don't ever show you how I really am. I wish I could say I have no regret. I wanted too much from you. I don't wanna be this way. I kick myself. I wish I could say I have no regrets today. But I'm so nervous that I lose my cool. Every time I pick up the phone and try to call you, send it out, it brings me cold to the nose. Wondering why I'm always acting so dumb. I don't wanna be this way. I kick myself. I wish I could say that I have no regrets today. Things just happen to turn out this way. I can't say I have no regrets today. Things happen to turn out this way. I can't say I have no regrets today.
CF here, just checking in at 9:47 p.m. on Thanksgiving Day. Hope you guys had a good one. Hope you're with your families. Hope you're with somebody you care about. If you're by yourself, then just know the good thoughts are coming your way. Here from Panzer Studios, surrounded by video games, and I'm lifting my black tea here to all of you out there on Thanksgiving as I wait for The Sims 4 to finish installing. And away I go. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you back in the studio. But wait, there's more. CF here. This is December 1st, 9:31 p.m. Just wrapping up for the evening. Getting ready to leave the office. Tomorrow when I come in here, I'll be setting up the show for today. So this week it's been all about Tabletop Simulator, which I know doesn't make for really good video game discussion, but long and short of it, I got kind of back into board games, which it's been a while since I've done that, and I spent the evening playing a game called Super Fight with randos on the internet, which is great. First of all, let me just say it's awesome that Tabletop Simulator is popular enough that you can open a server and people will just wander in. So that happened. We played this game, and the idea was you had a card with some sort of entity on it, monster, person, thing, whatever, and then also some sort of weapon or modifier, and then you had to argue why that thing would beat somebody else's. Now, we didn't play it exactly right. You're supposed to have a hand of cards, and then you can choose whatever you think, and you have some influence as to what you get stuck trying to argue against. The way we played it, because I was playing with randos, and we didn't read the rules very closely, we just drew cards off the top, and then you had to, whatever you came up with, you had to argue with. For example, one of the things that I had was it was a turtle. Was it a turtle or a baby sea turtle? It was like a turtle, and the modifier was there are 50 of them. And the thing that I was arguing against was a college a cappella group, and whenever they touch their opponent, they gain their opponent's powers. So I argued that if they touched my turtles, the a cappella group would then transform into turtles, but there would only be 10 of them, whereas I would have 50. My opponent then argued that the 10 a cappella group members would each individually transform into 50 turtles, and thus my turtles would be overrun. The only thing that swayed it in my favor was I argued that if even one of my 50 turtles was in fact a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, that would be enough to take care of an entire a cappella group without actually touching them. And after we made our arguments, the other people who had wandered in had to judge who they thought won the argument. And I lost that one. But that was the kind of thing that the game was all about. So that's something you could set completely aside from Tabletop Simulator. I looked that game up. It's a real game on Amazon. I think it's like $25 or something like that. Comes in a little box, has a couple decks, and like any card-based game, there's expansions. Like you can add in all the superheroes, and you can add in all the geek stuff, and you can add in all of the add-in stuff. So that was how I spent my evening, and it was a great time. It was really good. So as the Thanksgiving sale came to an end, I bought several packs of DLC for Tabletop Simulator, which some of them turned out to be a good purchase. Some of them not so much, because when it comes to Tabletop Simulator, you don't have to buy any DLC. You go to the workshop, and there's a lot of great games there. There's a really popular game called Codenames, which somebody tried to sell me in person at MagFest, and actually, it has been recommended to me in real life. Well, that's available for free in the workshop, and people play it quite frequently online. Don't know much about it yet, but I know that's something you can play without having to buy extra DLC. And then there's games like there's a game called Boss Monster, which I really enjoy. It's a pretty simple game. It's kind of like Dungeon Keeper, the video game, but the board game. Card based, and you are a big monster, and you lay out cards to build a dungeon, and then the heroes come through and try and go through your dungeon, and you're trying to kill them. And you and your opponent is also a monster, and thus heroes walk into the game, and you're trying to lure them in by building. It's just pretty cool. Simple mechanics, but it was a lot of fun. The thing is, I got that off of the workshop, and I bought the DLC for that pretty cheaply. It was on sale, and on top of it being on sale, it was one of the cheaper DLCs. So I think all said and done, I paid probably about $250 for it. And as it turned out, there was a free version in the workshop that you could just go and subscribe to, and there you go. So you could say I kind of got hosed on that one. So that's a hose of a deal. But then on the other side of the spectrum, there is a game called Dawn of the Zeds, which is I picked up the DLC, but it's a little bit on the complex side, so I haven't played with that one too much yet. Zombie survival horror-based board game. But the true life counterpart, because again, this is a real game, the true life counterpart is $100 for this board game. So getting the DLC, which is regular priced at $10, then on sale for $5, even though $5 is a lot for Tabletop Simulator DLC, not the worst thing in the world. So as it turns out, when it comes to DLC in this Tabletop Simulator, you have to do your homework, which is something I absolutely did not do. I instead chose my favorite route, which is blow a bunch of money on dumb stuff, which resulted in two things. It resulted in very good times, and also wasted purchases that I could have avoided. What are you going to do? I will take that outcome. That's not the worst outcome in the world. Yeah, so that's pretty much been my evening. In terms of video games for the week, I dug through my collection and I pulled out my copy of Pitfall 2. I've got this copy of Pitfall 2 that I bought from Old School NYC Gamer, who's on YouTube. Amongst other things, I bought a bunch of Atari games from him a few years back, and that one I was considering letting go, just because Pitfall 2 in and of itself is a pretty sought-after game. I didn't enjoy it very much personally, and this particular one has a nice reproduced case, hard clamshell case that's been reproduced, and I don't know if it's legit or not, but it appears to have been signed by David Crane, both on the cartridge and on the reproduced case. So I don't know. I can't really vouch for the authenticity of the signature, but sure looks cool. So I want to give that one more spin before I sell it off, and we'll see what happens. And that's pretty much been the update in terms of video games in my household. And with that, how we doing? Wow, I got 8 minutes out of that. You guys listen to me drone on about board games / playing board games on the internet for 8 minutes. And for that, I apologize. See you back in the studio. Back in the studio again. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. This is the Peacocks. Stick with us. Back again in the studio. I gotta say, I can't keep a thought in my head right now. It's extremely difficult. But one thing I can think about is how awesome the Patreon sponsors are. Big thanks to those who are giving their resources to make sure TCR comes back every single week. To the Patreon sponsors, I offer early access to the show when I can, although these days it's been the second I get it produced, it's time to go live. And I offer their names off in a hall of distinguished gentlemen. They are Hemrock, EmeraldRangers.com, Tecmo Balls, Darabka, Konstantin Kelman, and Eric Controller. Thank you guys so much for keeping the lights on. So apart from Tabletop Simulator, I was hanging out with Alex Swingle last night. And I played some some Command and Conquer Remastered Edition. So it's the original game with the expansions, and the first Red Alert with its expansions. And I played the original Command and Conquer. So let's talk about what they actually did in the Remastered Edition. I'm playing through the campaign, so I'm seeing. I'm not seeing any of the stuff they did to multiplayer. If you look at the multiplayer options, there is populated multiplayer. There's servers, people playing. Apparently it's supported. It's fine. That's not what I'm doing. I just wanted to go through the campaign. So I started playing from my save file from the GDI missions, and Swingle was hanging out. So I set it up so that it was like a screen share kind of deal. And it'd been a while since I played, and and Swingle has been playing some of the other Command and Conquers recently, but the more modern ones. And so we discovered that the AI is absolutely horrible. And I mean, I was just rolling with it. I was fine, but he was like, "Yeah, these modern games, they don't make the same problems." So, like, I had soldiers who were just walking right out into the Tiberium, which, kills the soldiers. At one point, I was like, all right, I have the mini map here. I'm going to take my entire forces, and I'm going to tell them to walk to this part of the map. And they start walking towards the map, and it's just an absolute circus. You got soldiers walking over the stuff that kills them. You got, at one point, I had some some mobile vehicles like stop along the way and just choose other targets and decide to fight to the death against other targets. It was bad. It's really rough, not gonna lie. I'm not saying the game's unplayable. These are problems that existed with the original Command and Conquer, and they still exist with the new Command and Conquer. So, fresh coat of paint, definitely remastered edition. The new graphics look great, and you're able to switch back and forth between new graphics and old graphics in real time, which is pretty cool. Also, apparently, the original game, you couldn't use the mouse wheel to zoom in and out, which you can in this version. So probably, if I went back and played the original Command and Conquer, like the bare bones, out-of-the-box version, there would probably be a lot of normal quality of life things that are missing that I don't realize now. So it is playable. I'll give it that. But there's a certain way that you have to play the original Command and Conquer. People who enjoyed that game did certain things to get around issues like that. For example, the mission where I was telling my entire team to go from one side to the other, I was doing that because I didn't want to crawl through the map one space at a time, right? In that particular mission, you started with a handful of units, and you had to take those units and reconnect with your base, and then launch your attack from there. So once I figured out where the base was, I died. I was like, oh boy, that means I got to do the first part of the mission again. And now at this point, I already knew where the base was. So I was just like, all right, people, can you just go there, please? And they were like, nah. No. This is the original Command and Conquer. It doesn't work that way. Also, one interesting point that Swingle raised was there's some serious compatibility issues with the original Command and Conquer, like that do get resolved in this remastered edition. Just on a basic level, you can download it and you can play it. Whereas if you order a CD-ROM of the original game, it's not going to work on most systems. I've got the German version of Command and Conquer. It's one of the prizes of my big box PC collection, which I got from Sean, the Gaming Beast. And I've tried that. I've tried installing that on every machine in the house, including very, very old machines, and also including one virtual machine, a Windows 95 virtual machine, and it didn't work across the board. And I just assumed that it was the German version, but I'm being told that the actual original Command and Conquer had similar issues. Now, I owned the original Command and Conquer back in the day, and I used to play it. I was able to successfully install it and play it back when we had, was it Windows 95? It was a gateway computer that my older brother had. And I think it might have been Windows 95. But it might have been 98. I don't know. Windows 98 and Windows 95 were so similar. Thinking back, I can't really tell you which one it was. But when we had the physical game and it was, fairly new, I didn't have any troubles installing it on our local machine. But going back to it, I surely did. And that's the way the CD-ROM era is, man. Try and go back and play some of those games now if they're not. If you're trying to play a game that's not picked up by digital distribution, good luck, son. And that's the reason why I have a lot of my old CD-ROMs. What's a good example? Hey, I like Trackmania. That's a fun little racing game, it's a racing game, but the cars can also do crazy stunts and stuff. That game's been around quite a while. One CD-ROM I have is Trackmania Sunrise. It's a very old version of that game. Good luck playing Trackmania Sunrise. It hasn't been picked up by any of the digital distribution services at all, right? So, it's just not going to run. It just doesn't happen. I don't know. These people who build and maintain very old computers, like we see, I think it's the Lazy Gamer, LGR, Lazy Game Reviews. This is a good reason to do that if you have a bunch of old CD-ROMs. There'd be a lot of fun digging into those old CD-ROMs. I've got Bleem. Do you remember Bleem? It was like the first real big PS1 emulator, and it was like a commercial product. Yeah, I kind of just want to flip through those CDs. Do it on the desk based on my CD-ROMs. Let's do it. Why not? We're only 22 minutes in. So I had an idea a while back. This is one of those ideas that just never came to fruition. I wanted to do a series of videos of these old CD-ROMs. Not at the games, but exactly what data exists on the disk. It's like the first game I have here. This is Warcraft 2. Warcraft 2 Battle.net Edition. Version 2.0, Windows 95, 98, NT 4.0, Power Macintosh CD-ROM. This is a beautiful disc. I'm looking at a disc that's it still maintains its like silvery cover to it, but it has a translucent paint, blue and black paint that says Warcraft 2 Battle.net Edition. Has a little picture of the ogre raising an axe that you might be familiar with if you're big into Warcraft. But on big letters, we see in the upper right corner, sneak preview Warcraft 3 included. And that's what these games used to do, is they would put the game on there, and then they would take, most of the time, they would take whatever space they had left, and they'd either sell it to a company, or put shareware for their own other versions of games. So Blizzard in particular did that. I can't remember if it was this disc or another disc, but one of these Blizzard games had was it Blizzard? I don't know. I came across a Baldur's Gate trailer a while back, and I loved it, so I ended up just putting it up raw in my YouTube channel. What do we got here? Hunter Hunted, which is a side-scrolling game, which I loved. That's another one that maybe nobody played it but me, but that didn't get picked up by digital distribution either. Although that one does seem to work. I was successfully able to install that. That's by Sierra Interactive. It was like late career Sierra. Then we have my old copy of Half-Life. Oh, hang on a second. This is gonna crackle just a little bit. Let me pause the recording. All right, are we good now? I've got my old copy of Half-Life Game of the Year edition. Which has a dead CD key, because if you maintain a Steam account and you have an old version of the Half-Life CD, you can take the CD key and you can activate it just like any regular game on Steam, and it will work. It'll add the Half-Life to your collection, but it'll kill the Steam key. Now this particular copy, down at the bottom it says Team Fortress Classic, which was included this version of Half-Life. I bought this in a big box. This is my surviving big box copy from when I was a teenager. My mother threw out all my games, but a small stack of CDs I happen to have at my buddy's house who had a better computer than me, and this just happened to be one of them. Good old Half-Life. Now the back of this CD, there's a couple of ads. Homeworld
Half-Life Opposing Force, also from Sierra Studios, and SWAT 3, which was gone for a while, but now you can get that from GOG and Steam and everywhere else. Then we have Stone Keep, Bleem, play hundreds of PlayStation games on your PC, next generation gameplay today. Play PlayStation games like you on your PC like you've never seen them before. Turn this into this. Slightly less grainy. Trackmania Sunrise, which I really wish I could play. Here's one I haven't played in a while. Need for Speed Porsche Unleashed. I got this just before I moved out of my mother's house. So, I probably played this like 2 or 3 times, and that was it. What I find interesting about this game is that in the 1980s, Electronic Arts had a very different logo, and I think I even talked about this just last week, right? It was, if you're not familiar, the Electronic Arts logo was 3 shapes. It was a square, and then a circle, and then a triangle, and they were all like made up of line segments. I actually see that logo on the back of this case. Now, when is this from? This 2000. So I thought they would have ditched that logo by then, but apparently not. That game was dope. The couple times I played it, I just remember racing online and my screen name being on the license plate and it being in the, I want to say late 90s, but the game says 2000 on it. Clearly that wasn't the case. Quake 3 Arena. Here's one that's worth doing a video over. Descent Levels of the World. Mission Disc Number 1. 100 all-new authorized player-designed levels. Judged the best in the world by Computer Gaming World magazine. A Descent add-on. Any ads on there? Parallax Software. Interplay. By gamers, for gamers. Good old Interplay. The kings of the CD-ROM era. Then I have a PS1 version of Jet Moto. I don't know how that got in there. Pinball Thrill Ride, which I got at a flea market with Vintage Video Game Geek. Nearly 10 years ago. And I've never even bothered trying to install it. It's just been here in the stacks. Unreal Tournament, my 2-disc original big box surviving copy. Good old Unreal Tournament. Now this one it came in the blue box. There was the Game of the Year edition where they changed the box to like an orangey red. This wasn't that. This was like when the game originally came out. Loved Unreal Tournament. My goodness. To this day, it's still a great game to pick up for the money on Steam. Then we have Streets of SimCity, which was funny because I bought this one after the fact. This is not like a surviving copy. I did have it back in those days, but that's not what this is. I was like, you know what? I want to specially seek out Streets of SimCity. I don't remember it being as broken as it actually is. I remember driving around in Streets of SimCity and having a good time. That's not what you can do in this. But the concept is so good. It takes your SimCity 2000 levels and turns it into a driving game. Even if it was a bad driving game, just being able to drive around in my city was a good time. Now here's one that I wonder about. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Rogue Spear. And I also have the Rogue Spear Mission Pack Urban Operations, which is a separate CD. I don't remember much about Rogue Spear. It's just that I remember people being hype about Rainbow Six when it first came out because it was like a tactical shooting game, and there weren't too many of those yet where you would control a squad. Rogue Spear had a little bit of buzz around it because it was the newer, better version of Rainbow Six, and Rainbow Six had not yet become like a garbage can game franchise just yet. Like, there was really only 2 of them at this time. So, I was like, oh yeah, that game that was awesome, there's a newer, better one. And then, of course, the door opened, and now it's like Rainbow Six Farty Smelly Edition, Rainbow Six Toilet Battler. What do we have next in the stacks? Here we go, with a Made in Canada sticker on it. Wolfenstein 3D, the CD-ROM, which I think is big money now. ID Software, distributed by GT Interactive, 16th East 40th Street, New York. And then I'm looking at the back. Wolfenstein 3, 1992, 1993, 1994, 1995. ID Software Incorporated. Yeah, so $5 is what this cost me to get the big box Wolfenstein 3D, which came with a booklet in it containing all the maps you need to get through Wolfenstein 3D. Now, Wolf 3D, if you've played it lately and don't remember it, the maps were very confusing. It was a very difficult game to get through if you didn't know where you were going, and it didn't have a mini-map feature in it. So later in the game, there's areas where the maps just get absurdly confusing, and there's secrets that you have to find in order to get through the game. So once I got this big box version, and it had a booklet in it with the maps, looking back, that booklet was kind of like the copy protection, sort of. You know how these old games, really old PC games, had feelies just to help with copy protection? I think that's the way Wolfenstein 3D was set up, was you had to have these maps really to get through it. Nowadays, if you want to play Wolf 3D, you can get a source port that has a mini-map, but not back in the old days, which is why I never beat it as a young lad. But it's awesome to have the CD. I went looking for that old box again, the big box game. $5 again. It was at the time, believe it or not, I got it from a GameStop, and they were unloading it apparently because it was a $5 game amidst $20 games. I was like, oh yeah, I'll take that. Yes, please. Try buying that now. $200 easy. At least it was the last time I looked it up. Now the CD alone, I don't know what it goes for. Probably nothing. Who knows? Then we come across the game that started it all. Ugh. And I don't know what is on this disgusting case, but this is my original copy of Quake. And again, my original surviving CD of Quake that I bought from GameStop for $10, and they had this box in a display that was like, it was stacked up on a table, like up in the front, like they were trying to get rid of it. And I wasn't collecting big box PC games at the time, because I thought they were more expensive than they actually were. I guess big box PC gaming was on its way out at that time. It was literally like the last year or two of big box PC gaming. And Quake was $10, and I was like, you know what? I happen to have $10 on me, and I took it home, and I got it installed, and we were running America Online at the time. America Online, and I also had NetZero. If you remember when NetZero was an actual free ISP, those are good times. But you had like a banner that was across the top that you couldn't move, and they stayed free by selling ad space. In those days, I bought this copy of Quake, and I brought it home, and I was able to play it online. I played the GameSpy arcade. I was able to use it and get into servers that were active, and oh my gosh, so much fun. That opened the door, and then I realized, hey man, this is an awesome game that I'm playing every night now, and it was $10. Let's go back to the mall, to that GameStop, and see what else we can get. And that's how my awesome big box PC collection got started. It was legendary, man, I tell you. Then we have Tomb Raider: The Lost Artifact, which is another prize of my collection. This is, I think it's Tomb Raider 5. This is like the additional levels for Tomb Raider 5, but placed in its own game. And this one I got from a flea market or a thrift store for $1 or something. To be fair, I've never tried to install this one though. Look for these other great Wallsoft titles: Burn and Go Gold, NHRA Drag Racing 2, Ambulance Driver, World Tours 2 Golf, Ultimate Mahjong, Ultimate Game Pack. Yeah, but this one's legit. I don't know that there's any way to play the Lost Artifact right now. And then we have Worms Armageddon. Yes, I had Worms Armageddon back when it was still distributed in big box. Loved it, man. Loved it. Everybody was connected to the internet in those days using a traditional modem, a traditional dial-up connection. So if you were going to play a game online, assuming that you had the power to do so with your machine, nobody had to worry about port forwarding. There were no routers yet. So that's the era that the original Worms Armageddon came out in. So anybody could go into that lobby system that's still set up today and then just hit host and people would join. Which is why the multiplayer of that game is what it is. Thank goodness they have that host bot now to make it still work. Lastly in this collection is Quake 2. My CD-ROM copy of Quake 2. Quake 2 didn't get much love in my house, which I don't think is necessarily fair. But to put it into context, I told the story about how I got Quake 1 and how that kicked down the door. I got Quake 2 probably like 2 or 3 weeks later. Maybe like a month later at the latest. And I brought it home, and by that time, I already had the original Quake. And I think I already had Unreal Tournament as well. And those were like the two titans of PC gaming for me. And we also had EverQuest. My older brother bought EverQuest a little bit before all this happened, and he was maintaining an account, and I was allowed to actually use it. So EverQuest, which I know is a free game now, at the time was not only a big box PC game, but if you look up the original EverQuest big box PC package, that was a titan, a mammoth of a box. Height and width, it was the same size as every other big box PC game, but the depth, the thickness, it was like a solid 3 inches thick or something. It was bananas. So it's really like a phone book or something. So, here comes Quake 2 into an established collection. And I played it some. I played it online a few times. But it just didn't hold me. Hang on. My chair is like on my earphone wire or something. It didn't hold me. It got more play later on when I got it on the Nintendo 64. That's when I think Quake 2 got the most play, because I didn't have GoldenEye for the Nintendo 64. So Quake 2 offered split-screen 4-player multi-FPS shooting. And that was how we did that on the N64 in my house. I was playing Quake 2. And the kids came from all around to play it. I had a lot of kids in my neighborhood, and I was the one that had an N64, at least when I had Quake 2. Before that, it was Engie who had the N64, but I bought it off him. And I remember like 5+ kids frequently sitting in that basement, passing controllers around. And of course, like everybody, I had that one controller with the broken analog stick that nobody wanted to get stuck with. Man, those were good times. We doing? Is this actually still working? Is it working? Okay, good. All right, boys and girls, time for the fail bag. Not much in the old fail bag this week. We had Thanksgiving. People have been busy. But we got a few comments over on the YouTubans. We got one from, let's see what we got here. Hemrock says, I'm down for an Alpha Centauri meetup. Let's do it, man. Especially with this board game thing that Sean and I have been taking a look at. We actually got online and talked the other night. For the first time in quite some time. So this seems actually very doable. Alpha Centauri, he's of course referring to our long-running play-by-email game, which has been going for goodness knows how many years now. Yeah, that would be great. That would be great. Let's see. Mecha Menace says, what resolutions do you try before you go into potato mode? Is it 720p? Is 720p or 800p too much? It really depends. I mean, I'm pretty comfortable at 1366 by whatever. That's pretty potato for me. But that's reduced. That's greatly reduced. But it runs and still looks good. Depends entirely on the game. Desm101 says, dude, that's awesome. You got a DJ controller. Stoked to hear what you put together on that. I started with Newmark gear, and I think they're very good for learning. There's some cool retro streamers out there. I've stopped by Retro Kaiser's streams. I've been stopping by Retro Kaiser streams. They are fun. That's good to know. Also, Retro Game Brews does some high score competitions, and people like Vance Valence will participate. I also watch Mike 7A, but his streams are not family friendly. at all. DJs have to try and work around the content ID system. I find that more obscure music will not get flagged, and the more vocals or pop melodies that are played, the more likely the content ID will flag the stream. But even then, it's only bad if the copyright holder claims it and you get a knock on your account. So far, I've been okay, but we'll see. Yeah, man. I don't know how I'm going to work with that because, like, the way I do things now, like, I put this show on YouTube, and if there's a problem with copyright, then somebody else monetizes it, which is kind of a pain because I like the fact that there's no ads, but what have I lost, really? Nothing. Which is why I have shows like this, where I'm just, just play some old punk. Why not? This one's probably gonna get marked with a content ID, but it's never been like a huge issue. I worry about doing like a DJ thing where it's like, instead of just a couple of songs, now it's like you're putting together a big string of potentially copyrighted materials. Also, I haven't done much on Twitch, so I don't know. Whatever I do, it would have to be on a new platform. Like, I could put streams up on Anchor, audio streams, and be like, this is my mix from the other night, and if anything happens to my Anchor account, it's brand new. It's not a big deal. Twitch, it's not a new account, but I haven't done much with it, so if my Twitch account gets fried, not a big deal. But I don't feel comfortable enough doing it on the old YouTubins. I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I've been messing with that Serato Lite and just doing some stuff locally while I wait for Christmas, because that's the controllers put away for Christmas. But yeah, that'll be a good time. Yeah, this is good stuff. Hemrock, Macamenus, Desdemona 1. Thank you, gentlemen, for checking in on this holiday season. I hope you all are doing very well. I hope your families are safe. I hope you ate some turkey. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving. Saw some people. Did what you got to do. Stayed safe. All right. No chip tunes yet on this week's episode. And since we have 42 minutes, we're only 42 minutes in. Let's see what we got in the old chiptune bag. I actually did. I have been building a folder over the past couple weeks of just chiptunes that look like they would be good for the air. So let's pop that open and see what we got. Ah, yes, Battle of the Bits. Battle of the Bits has the Sega Master System collection, which I picked up over at Bandcamp a little while ago. I don't know if it's still free or not, but it's been sitting on my desktop for a little while, so I played a few tracks off of it. This one is from Funute, Funute, Funute. This is Ballad of the Battle, track 7 from Battle of the Bits. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. We'll be back. that's it for this week. I'm looking forward to playing some more Command & Conquer over the next week. Trying Command & Conquer Generals as well as Red Alert 2 on the Origins. I've had that complete set for years now, and I really have only ever played the first one, and now I'm not going to play the first one because I have this other remastered edition. Lots of Command & Conquer. It's quite a big well of games that are nearly identical. And I hope you all as well have something to look forward to over this next week, because it makes things so much easier. And whatever happens, keep your head up, keep doing what you got to do, and before you know it, we'll all be outside playing and holding hands and trading Pokemon cards and doing what we can. Take care of yourself. I'll see you next week.